Hi guys, and welcome back to another DrAce video, and today we're going to be playing MotoGP 21. We're going to be doing the race recap from Mugello, which was on Sunday, the 29th of May 2021, of course. So this is the 2021 season recap of Mugello, and we're going to be starting off in Moto3, discussing the magnificent race that unfolded right here in this magnificent circuit. But before we continue, I would just like a moment to pass on my condolences to Jason DePasquier and his family. I'm deeply saddened to hear about the death of Jason DePasquier. I watched qualifying, and I watched the amount of cameras panning over him, and I knew something was wrong, and to hear about him losing his life during opening segments of Moto2 was just... It really took the wind out of every single person in the world right now who was watching. It's just devastating, it really is. I don't really have much else to say about it. I'm a fan of the sport. I love the sport, I love the riders, I'm extremely passionate about anything to do with bikes in general, and to hear about one of us losing his life, it's just devastating, it honestly is. Basically, the way I look at it is we're all one massive family, and we just lost one of our brothers yesterday. It hurts, it really does. But I guess we'll continue to push forward, we'll continue to race for Jason, as they mentioned, and we'll do what we do best, and that is to bounce back and face adversity with a smile, and continue to race for Jason DePasquier. Thank you guys for allowing me just to discuss that. If you have any comments and you would like to mention something regarding Jason DePasquier in the comment section, don't hesitate, and make sure you ride on and race for Jason as well. But now it's time to discuss the Moto3 race, which was absolutely superb. Classic Mugello, classic Moto3. It's a terrific combination, and it certainly didn't disappoint on Sunday. So discussing the race, we're going to have to start off with Denis Foggia beating Giammasia by 36,000th of a second across the line. Denis Foggia was absolutely terrific this weekend. He has had a very topsy-turvy season, and even last season was very unreliable, so I'm very pleased to see the Rocket taking a victory here in Mugello. It must be insane to take a victory in your home track, and especially a track that's so revered and so well and truly loved. Must be an insane feeling, a really passionate feeling, I would imagine. Of course, I've never won in my home track, not even in the Moto3 career mode. I couldn't get the job done. But regarding Moto3, Giammasia just missed out of beating Denis Foggia, so of course Denis Foggia took the win. But great to see the Comalig, actually it's no longer Comalig, it's now the Indonesian Racing Gresini team with Gabriel Rodrigo on the podium. It's a rare sight to see Gabriel Rodrigo on the podium, but I'm very pleased to see him. The Argentine is a fantastic rider, but just doesn't seem to have the best of luck in the sessions or in the seasons in general. So great job for him, great job for the Gresini team as well. Of course, Fausto Gresini lost his life early on this season, so it's very, very humbling and very, very pleased to see his team do well. Of course, quick mention about Ayumi Sasaki. He has had a ridiculous form in recent, and that is constant 4th and 5th places. Another 4th place, it's the second best to the podium. It's a great job for the Tech 3 KTM rider, who was actually unfortunately involved with the crash with Jason DePasquier on Saturday. It was a heavy fall for Ayumi Sasaki, who flipped over and landed onto his backside and onto the tailbone. Oh, it looked extremely painful, and you could see he was limping, and he still managed to put that bike on 4th place. Terrific job from the Japanese rider. Darren Binder in 5th with Romano Fenati. Good to see him battling up there. I did think that Romano Fenati had a chance of the victory, but unfortunately he didn't quite make it. Now, some mention to do with John McPhee, Pedro Acosta and Sergio Garcia. This is going to be brought up later on regarding some other riders. But on the last lap, Pedro Acosta and Sergio Garcia both invalidated their lap time and abused track limits. And of course, the position is if you take a track limit warning on the final lap, if you abuse the limits, you will lose one position no matter what you did and how much advantage you gained. You would be losing a position. Now what happened is Acosta lost one position, so it put him backwards, and Sergio Garcia also lost one position. So John McPhee inherited 2 spots by going ahead of both of them due to them both losing position. Bear that in mind for later on, because we will be discussing that again. Now, a couple of riders that didn't even finish the first lap. There's quite a lot of crashes, and that was Denis Onchu. Andrea Migno expected big things for the Italian here in Mugello, and it didn't happen. Alberto Sura, the Team Bardal VR46 Riders Academy team, they appeared this weekend, and unfortunately his race ended early, bumping into the back of Adrian Fernandez, who also didn't finish, and Carlos Tatai and Maximilian Koffler all did not finish in the first lap. Now it's time to move over to Moto 2. We're kind of running out of time. I've not really planned my time out well here, so I'm going to move over onto Moto 2, and we can start discussing the results of the interesting race. It was a bit of a bore fest halfway through, but towards the end, things changed and things got very, very entertaining. So allow me to first congratulate Remy Gardner, taking his second victory in the class, I do believe. He won at Portimao last season, I want to say. And Remy Gardner, I've been rooting for him all season, so I am extremely pleased to see that Remy Gardner managed to take the victory, but by 14,000th of a second. 0.014 on the times, quicker than Raul Fernandez to take a victory. It was the closest finish ever, or one of the closest finishes ever in Moto2 history. Brilliant race for the Akio team. Akio himself must have been going absolutely crazy. If he had any hair, he would have been pulling it out. But Remy Gardner, Raul Fernandez, right down to the death. It was a terrific race between those two. Really great to see. And Marco Bezzecchi, personally one of my favourite riders, managed to get third place in that Sky VR46 team with, of course, the magnificent Mugello livery. However, we do have something to discuss, and that is Joe Roberts' penalty in turn 5 on the final lap of the Grand Prix into Borgo San Lorenzo on the exit, touching the green line and invalidating his lap time and abusing track limits. He was demoted one position, and he had a terrific fight with Marco Bezzecchi. It was extremely close across the line. I can't even remember how close it was. It was maybe a good 17,000th of a second, something similar to that. He was so close to actually losing out on the podium, and ultimately he beat Marco Bezzecchi and claimed his first podium of the season. Temporarily, because he abused the limits in Borgo San Lorenzo, he was demoted one position, which Marco Bezzecchi then inherited to go onto the podium. Now this is rather controversial for a lot of people. I'm on the side to say the rule is the rule. If you abuse track limits, you are demoted one position. It is simple as that. However, I do understand that is extremely, extremely harsh, because Joe Roberts did not put a foot wrong. He barely touched the outside of the line into Borgo San Lorenzo. Yes, you could say it is an advantage because Marco Bezzecchi did not, and therefore Marco Bezzecchi would have had to pull off of the rumble strip to avoid going onto the green, where Joe Roberts would have had a few extra couple of hundredths of a second. It's very minimal, and that's why it's so harsh. But the rules are very, very clear in the regard of you are demoted by one position. But what is not clear is where does it stop? If every single rider is abusing the track limits on the last lap, does everyone lose one position? It's a very grey area, but personally for me, it's disappointing to see Joe Roberts claim the podium, to be so positive, to be cheering, doing burnouts with Remy Gardner and Raul Fernandez, to then be told, sorry mate, come back to the pit, you're not in part firme, you didn't get on the podium. And for Marco Bezzecchi, he was already disappointed. He didn't think he made the podium, he thought he'd missed out, and he looked very disconsolate about it. But all of a sudden it's, oh Marco, good times are happening, you're in part firme. So it's a bit hiss and miss right now. I think they need to change it, and let me tell you, that's not the first time I'm going to be discussing this. We've got to discuss this all again later on, because it happened again in MotoGP. But bear with me, we'll get there in a moment's time. Of course, big news of massive, massive news for the championship, which personally really surprised me. Sam Lowe's crashing out. 6 laps to go from the end, and he makes a big mistake and loses the front. Very, very surprised to see Sam Lowe's drop it again. Very, very surprised. I think he lost it into Arrabbiata 1. I can't recall, but it was a fast crash. And I'm just surprised, because typical Sam Lowe's in the past couple of years has been that he's been super competitive, he's been close, and then he started to make mistakes, started to crash. This season, from Qatar to Portimao, up until Portimao should I say, has looked fantastic. Super, super smooth, super in control, in charge, and now the 2 crashes, one in Portimao and now here. It's not looking too great for Sam Lowe's, and considering the Mark VDS Elf Racing team, Augusto Fernandez didn't finish either. Him and Lorenzo Dalla Porta colliding on the first lap, I believe. They both ended their races. It's difficult. Really difficult for the Elf Mark VDS team, especially for Augusto Fernandez. There was a point in the season a couple of years ago where he was beating Alex Marquez, he was beating Luca Marini, he was beating everyone, and he just then disappeared. and I haven't seen him perform the same ever since that year. And unfortunately, I do forget, maybe 2018 or 2019, and ever since then he's just not been the same. And disappointment again for the likes of Xavi Vierge, Lorenzo Baldassari having a torrid time aboard that MV Agusta. He didn't finish the race, crashing about 2 laps. Jorge Navarro has not done too bad recently. He's not had as many crashes as he did last season, but still not featuring anywhere near the front. He started on the front row, and that's as close as he was all race. He went backwards pretty much from there. Simone Corsi, I think he's no longer a part-time policeman, but the part-time or ex-part-time policeman crashed out as well. So the MV Agusta claimed no points here today, which of course in their home Grand Prix with that magnificent livery that they had planned, didn't even really see much of the actual action, so disappointed to see that happen. Fabio Di Gianantonio, big championship challenger, he crashed out as well with 10 laps to go, and joining him on that one was Albert Arenas as well, the Moto3 champion, didn't finish either. So difficult race for many in Moto2. It was an interesting race, it was boring during the middle, but towards the end, amazing. There was enough sort of action to say the whole race was really, really good, but ultimately interesting, very, very interesting. Cameron Beaubier started quite far back and worked his way up to 8th place, a great job for the American. Good job for Tony Arbolino, but he did go backwards a little bit towards the middle part of the race, and Iagura, probably the best rider of the day, him finishing in 6th place and getting 10 points is very, very good for his confidence and to learn the ropes of Moto2. Now, usually when I do these MotoGP recap videos, I tend to leave it late for MotoGP, and I end up not having enough time to discuss it. So thankfully, I think we're going to change that now. We're going to have a nice chunk of time to discuss the MotoGP race of Mugello. So first and foremost, massive congratulations to Fabio Quartararo. He was terrific from the second the lights went out to the very, very end. Did not put a foot wrong, was dominant throughout the entire session, and ultimately you kind of made the race a bit boring, Fabio, so not great. However, you still put on a great show, and you dedicated to Jason DePasquet, so you really can't be mad at Fabio. And of course, the guy wears his heart on his sleeve, and that really showed evident when he won the Grand Prix of Mugello. But Miguel Oliveira, Joan Mir on the podium, so great to see 3 different manufacturers on the podium. And honestly, if you said to me, these 3 manufacturers would be on the podium, but it doesn't even matter what order, I'd probably disagree with you and call you mad. If you said to me not a single Ducati would feature on the podium, I would have taken your bet and you would have proved me wrong. That's probably why I'm not a gambling man. But Miguel Oliveira, brilliant job for him. He was superb. He stayed within reach of Zarco all the way through the race. Like all the way through, because Zarco was chasing down Fabio. We'll get to that in a moment's time. And Miguel put on a great show. He was really good. Definitely the best KTM on the day. Now, Joan Mir taking 3rd place. I did expect Alex Rins to be up there, Joan Mir's teammate. However, something happened to Alex Rins and he didn't feature on the podium. But controversy again, as we are going to discuss the long lap penalties and the track limit warnings and whatnot. Joan Mir ultimately, originally, inherited 2nd place from Miguel Oliveira, as Miguel Oliveira's lap time was cancelled on the last lap due to a track limit infringement. However, this was changed and Joan Mir was 2nd briefly, as it comes out that Joan Mir also apparently abused track limits and therefore would be demoted 1 position. So bear this in mind. I'm going to ask you the question now. If Miguel Oliveira is demoted 1 position, he moves down to 3rd place. If Joan Mir is demoted 1 place, he would then go from 3rd place to 4th place. Now, Johan Zarco finished 4th place, just 0.5 of a second behind Joan Mir on the podium. In my mind and in my logic, bearing in mind what I said earlier regarding John McPhee, Pedro Acosta and Sergio Garcia, Johan Zarco should have inherited 2nd place. Now, basic for me, because Miguel goes back 1 to 3rd, Joan Mir goes back 1 from 3rd to 4th. Therefore, Zarco would go up past 2 of them, if that makes sense. Or he would at the very least go up by 1 to 3rd place, but both of the riders ahead abuse track limits. It's such a grey area, but I'm going to ask you guys the question now. What do you think should have been the outcome of that? Should both riders have been penalised for abusing track limits? Should both riders be demoted 1 position? Should Zarco inherit 2nd place or just take 3rd? What do you think?
it's a real grey area for me, but what I'm going to say is my opinion is it should have been the same as Moto 3. Johann Zarco should be in second place and Miguel Oliveira in third. Now, Johann Zarco put on a great fight, he really did, but he felt a little bit uncomfortable on the bike. He said the fatigue and the fitness level wasn't quite there because Mugello is an extremely difficult circuit, as many people have attested to. But Johann Zarco, of course, not out of drama himself either. In fact, the whole weekend was filled with drama. It really was. Getting shunted up the rear on the run to the line as Enea Bastianini decided to go full acceleration, brake as hard as he could and slam Johann Zarco in the back. Now, according to Enea Bastianini, he believes that it was Zarco's fault for accelerating and then braking so abruptly. But Enea Bastianini, obviously something happened, maybe his concentration wasn't there, but he bumped Johann Zarco and crashed on the sighting lap. It was very, very embarrassing for the Moto2 World Champion. Now, Brad Binder, the second of the KTMs, he finished in 5th place, a great job for him. Really disappointing result for Jack Miller, didn't see a peep out of him all race, to be quite honest with you. I did expect to see him up there with the top guys, but unfortunately we didn't really see that. Aleix Espargaro, great job for him, finishing in 7th place. He was up there for quite a while, and of course in qualifying he did have the potential to potentially take pole position, but unfortunately that didn't come through either. And then of course it's Maverick Vinales, Danilo Petrucci, Valentino Rossi in 10th, Iker Lecuona, Paul Espargaro, Michele Pirro, Alex Marquez, Lorenzo Savadori, Franco Morbidelli and Luca Marini. Now, the drama that unfolded, Marc Marquez crashing with Brad Binder into turn 3. As he went into Luco, he bumped Brad Binder and crashed out of the race, which ultimately ruined Franco Morbidelli's race as well, as Morbidelli skittled across. As Marquez's bike skittled across into the gravel, Franco Morbidelli had literally nowhere to go to take avoiding action and had to go in the gravel as well. Now, to be fair to Marquez, he did apologise and said it was his fault, but at the same time, I've seen many crashes happen there before. Alvaro Bautista, Valentino Rossi 2013. It was the same incidents, both two men trying to get into the same piece of tarmac, and unfortunately it only has one position available. And in that corner, it's very difficult to then see the other rider on the right hand side from where Marquez crashed, so it makes perfect sense that has happened. Simple racing incident for that one. Pecco Bagnaia crashing in lap 1. Oh, that was devastating. Breaking up into Arrabbiata 2, he lost the front, and his championship challenge is looking a bit more bleak, and the entire race for a potential first victory has gone on begging yet again. Alex Rins crashed out into Bacchini into the final corner. Really disappointing, and honestly, it's getting frustrating to watch Alex Rins because I said at the beginning of this season that Alex Rins is the championship favourite for me. And so far, he's crashed 4 times in a row. Terrible, terrible look for Alex at the minute. He looks at the data and he says he can't even see how they crashed, and that is even more concerning, because at least if you know how you crashed, you can try and avoid it. But honestly, disappointing for Alex Rins. He has to reset, and he has to reset quickly going into Catalunya next time out. Pecco Bagnaia, as I've mentioned, didn't finish, Marquez didn't finish, Bastianini and Taka Nakagami with Alex Rins all crashing out. I could discuss the old Marquez following Maverick Vinales incident in qualifying, but thankfully I don't have enough time for it, and I don't think I have the sanity to discuss that again. But if you do want to discuss it, let me know in the comment section down below, and we'll have a good old chinwag about it. Lots of crashes, lots of instances, and a lot of drama this weekend, but of course the biggest drama, the biggest tragedy was Jason Dupasquier. The racing is somewhat material at this point, but I'm still glad they went on and put a good show on for us, because at the end of the day, that's what Jason would have wanted. I don't think he wanted to always just sit back and stare at the walls and just think about what could have been. I'm pretty certain he would rather us race and put on a good show for everyone watching. But guys, that is pretty much it now from MotoGP race recap from Mugello. I do hope you enjoy these particular videos. I've got a lot more to do, of course, got plenty more rounds to go to. And we won't have to wait too long, because this Sunday we'll be back at Catalunya and racing again. Catalunya being one of my personal favourite tracks of all time. Terrific battles have occurred there, and I can't wait to see what the guys can conjure up in Montmello. But quick mention of the championship standings so far. Fabio Quartararo leads by 24 points over Johann Zarco, and further 2 points ahead of Pecco Bagnaia. So ladies and gentlemen, those are my lap times here in Mugello, utilising Joan Mir on board the Suzuki. Now I didn't exactly push for these lap times, but I did find a nice steady progression as we went on and as I just chatted about everything and nothing. But as I mentioned earlier, I really hope you guys enjoy these videos because I do like talking about MotoGP. It's one of my biggest passions in life, and to discuss it with the aces, my second biggest passion in life. Or maybe the first passion, I don't know, it's all up in the all up in the air right now. Everything's my passion, I'm just a happy guy. But upon that note guys, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to let me know in the comment section down below what you enjoyed or what you didn't like about the weekend, and we can have a good chat in the comment section down below. So guys, as always, thanks for watching, like, comment and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be alerted to every single DrAce upload, and upon that note guys, thanks for watching, and ciao for now.
Oh hi, didn't quite see you there. Good to see you're still here. If this video didn't quite sate your appetite, then why not watch some more DrAce content by clicking the video shown on screen now. Furthermore, if you would like to follow me on social media, you can do so now, with the links down in the description. Consider subscribing so you don't miss a single DrAce video.